in the Asian Pacific African Combined Powerlifting Championship in South Africa.
Supreme Court will announce its verdict shortly on a case related to the denial of reserved seats to the Sunni Ittihad Council. Development came after Apex Court's full bench held its second round of consultation on reserved seats case verdict for second consecutive day yesterday. Special session of the country's top court's 13-member full bench was held under chair of Chief Justice of Pakistan, Qazi Faiz Isa.
Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif chaired an important meeting regarding national food security and research in POSCO in Islamabad today. During the meeting, Prime Minister directed the federal government to set up an alternative strategy regarding the purchase of wheat and to consult with the provincial governments, Gilgit-Baltistan, Azad Jammu and Kashmir and other relevant institutions in this regard. Prime Minister issued directives for the restructuring of wheat board. He said farmers' representatives should be included in the wheat board. Prime Minister also directed to include representatives of Land Information and Management System and Suparco in the wheat board. He said effective steps should be taken to increase the production of wheat and other crops. Prime Minister also directed to prepare an action plan regarding the privatization of POSCO.
United Nations vindicates Pakistan's position on TTP as world's body's sanctions committee has stated Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan is the largest terror group operating from Afghanistan and getting growing support from Afghan Taliban and terror factions affiliated with Al-Qaeda. More in this report.
The United Nations vindicates Pakistan's position on TTP as the World Body's Sanction Committee has stated that Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan is the largest terrorist group operating from Afghanistan and getting growing support from Afghan Taliban and terror factions affiliated with Al-Qaeda. And this is another time Pakistan's long-held stance regarding as the TTP using Afghan soil to carry out its heinous terrorist activities on Pakistani soil has once again been vindicated by the United Nations report regarding as to the kind of support the banned Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan is getting from the Afghan Taliban as well as the other terror factions including Al-Qaeda. There have been multiple reports already regarding that support to banned Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan from various terror groups, close collaboration between ISK, Al-Qaeda and TTP, and also the use of Afghan soil by the banned Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan to carry out heinous terrorist attacks on Pakistani soil. A number of times, Pakistani authorities with irrefutable evidence have been asking the interim de facto authorities of Afghanistan, the Afghan Taliban, that they have got the international obligation as per the Doha Agreement to not allow any militant outfit or a terrorist organization to carry out terrorist activities using their safe havens on the Afghan soil, but rather than fulfilling their international obligation as per the commitment they made in the Doha deal to the international community, the Afghan Taliban had been denying the presence of banned Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan terrorists and militant elements on Afghan soil, and rather had been trying to point fingers back at Pakistan. Pakistani authorities took the diplomatic measures in order to impress upon the interim Afghan authorities. Now, once again, the international community is cognizant of the fact that banned Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, that happens to be the largest terror group, is operating from Afghan soil and carrying out terror attacks against Pakistan. Let's watch this report in that connection.
A new assessment report by the United Nations Sanctions Committee was released on late Wednesday amid a dramatic surge in TTP-led terror attacks against Pakistani security forces and civilians, killing many over the past several years. The UN report says TTP continues to operate at a significant scale in Afghanistan and to conduct terrorist operations into Pakistan from there, often utilizing Afghan citizens. It noted that the globally designated terrorist group, also known as the Pakistani Taliban, is operating in Afghanistan Afghanistan with an estimated strength of 6,000 to 6,500 fighters. It further said Afghan Taliban have proved unable or unwilling to manage the TTP threat, whose attacks into Pakistan have intensified. It says Taliban's support to TTP also appears to have increased. The UN report says regional Al-Qaeda operatives in Afghanistan are also assisting TTP in conducting high-profile terrorist activities inside Pakistan. The report quoted one UN member state as expressing concern that greater collaboration with Al-Qaeda could transform TTP into an extra-regional threat. UN member states reiterated that NATO-caliber weapons, especially night vision capability that have been provided to TTP since the Taliban takeover, add lethality to TTP terrorist attacks against Pakistani military border posts. The TTP has gradually intensified the number of attacks against Pakistan from 573 in 2021 to 1,203 in 2023, with the trend continuing into 2024 according to the UN report. Pakistani officials also attribute the spike in violence to the greater operational freedom the terror outfit has enjoyed in Afghanistan since the Taliban returned to power almost 3 years ago.
Pakistan and Azerbaijan have signed a series of agreements and MOUs aimed at enhancing cooperation across various sectors. The signing ceremony took place at the Prime Minister's house and was attended by Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Azerbaijan's President Ilham Aliyev. Key agreements signed during the ceremony included an MOU on consular affairs signed by Pakistan Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs Mohammad Ishaq Dar and Azerbaijan's Deputy Foreign Minister. An agreement on cooperation in science and technology was signed by the Federal Secretary for Science and Technology and senior Azerbaijani officials. Minister of Privatization Abdul Aleem Khan and Azerbaijan's Deputy Prime Minister signed an MOU on cooperation in the privatization of state assets. An MOU on cooperation in minerals and geology was signed by Pakistan's Minister of Petroleum Dr. Musaddiq Malik and senior officials from Azerbaijan. Minister of State for Information Technology Shahzad Fatima Khaja signed an MOU on cooperation in the field of information and communication technology. An MOU between Pakistan Television and Azerbaijan's TV and radio broadcasting was signed by Federal Secretary for Information Shahida Shahid and Azerbaijan's ambassador. The chairperson of Pakistan Academy of Letters, Professor Dr. Najiba Arif, and Azerbaijan's ambassador signed an MOU in the field of literature.
Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and the President of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, in their joint press conference emphasized their commitment to promote trade and cooperation in various sectors. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, in his welcoming, said that the people of Pakistan are thrilled about his visit to Pakistan. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif mentioned Pakistan and Azerbaijan share a strong bond, with both nations' heart beating together. The Prime Minister also talked about a significant $2 billion investment plan between the two countries and noted Azerbaijan's role in hosting COP29, which will be beneficial for developing countries.
We have agreed to enhance our bilateral trade. We've also discussed areas of joint cooperation and joint investments. An initial figure of $2 billion investments in areas of mutual beneficial projects.
President of Azerbaijan reiterated Pakistan's support for Azerbaijan's stance on the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict and appreciated Azerbaijan's support for Pakistan's position on Jammu and Kashmir. He announced that a technical team will visit Pakistan to help beautify Islamabad, inspired by Baku's example.
To analyze the projects, the initial amount of investments which we are planning to accumulate, as my brother mentioned, is around $2 billion. We already reviewed several projects in the area of energy, infrastructure, connectivity, and many others, including defense industry, where we are cooperating very successful.
Also, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif hosted a formal reception in honor of Azerbaijan President Ilham Aliyev in Islamabad. On his arrival at the Prime Minister's house, Shehbaz Sharif received the Azerbaijan President. National anthems of both the countries were played on the occasion. A smartly turned out contingent of armed forces of Pakistan presented a guard of honor to the visiting dignitary. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif introduced his cabinet members to President Aliyev. President Aliyev also introduced his delegation members to Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif.
Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif hosted a formal reception in honor of Azerbaijan President Ilham Aliyev in Islamabad. On his arrival at the Prime Minister House, Shehbaz Sharif received Azerbaijan President. National anthems of both the countries were played on this occasion. Smartly turned out contingent of the Armed Forces of Pakistan presented a guard of honor to the visiting dignitary. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif introduced his cabinet members to President Aliyev. President Aliyev also introduced his delegation members to Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif.
Moving on, President of Azerbaijan Ilham Aliyev paid a visit to the Martyrs Memorial at the Pakistan Monument in Islamabad and laid a floral wreath. He was received by Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi. On his arrival, a smartly turned out contingent of Pakistan Army presented a salute to the visiting guest.
Officials and analysts say the visit of President of Azerbaijan to Pakistan will take bilateral economic cooperation between the two countries to new heights. Our correspondent Hassan Gilani reports.
Recent years and months have seen economic cooperation between Pakistan and Azerbaijan rising steadily. There is a strong determination to further increase mutual partnership across all domains. In an interview with PTV World, seasoned diplomat Ambassador Suhail Mahmood said visit of President of Azerbaijan Ilham Aliyev will greatly promote bilateral economic cooperation between the two countries.
We are working together, and you saw that in the past several months and going back several years now, our cooperation in trade and especially in the energy sector has grown, and